Daughter's mad at me.
Good.
She's mad at me because that book I just gave you, I made it into a play. And for you, it's protection if anyone reads you the riot act about the Holocaust again. Because it's a channeled experience, talking with angels, maybe some of you here know the book, that 4 people wrote down over a year and a half, 3 of them died. And it is your teaching, it is Abraham. I've been doing it for 15 years.
Sit back. Make yourself comfortable.
Okay, I've been doing it for 15 years, and 15 years ago the fans had told me about Abraham. And I'm a cult survivor, so anything about a group or anything I just blew off. Until March. This March I finally started listening. And I was...
It's time for the Kool-Aid.
I was listening selfishly because I did the play in June. I did it here in LA, and I wanted to steal from your act. So I was just starting.
Apparently you have done a good job of that.
So I realized that this message from 1943 is, you will see the Abraham message, and I am the synchronicity queen. I have had kind of like your elevator story all my life. So I inherited a little bit of money around 2000, and I thought I need to do, I kind of abandoned acting, and I thought I needed to redeem myself. I was in my 40s, close to 50. Anyway, I did that with the money, and now my daughter's mad at me because she said I should have bought a house. And I've never had any big success with it. And even last night, I have a witness here, my neighbor, who I've known for 20 years. I told my daughter I was coming here. I said I was going to ask about something. She said, well, ask about something personal, Mom. So this is personal. My daughter's...
And we are waiting for the question.
She's mad at me because in my search to understand coincidences and synchronicity in my life, I always had half a message, and it took me, it kind of has worn me down. And finding the Abraham teaching in March was like this other half.
It can be very helpful. The laws of the universe that we talk about are so consistent that you can learn them just by living. The thing that is missing is that people aren't willing to be selfish enough to do what feels best to them. That's the only reason that everybody is not just naturally thriving, as life shows them its response to the way they feel. And so it's helpful for there to be words explained. It's helpful for there to be explanation of the laws of the universe. But when you think about it, nobody's taking a class on gravity. This book doesn't say, lesson number 1, if you don't learn about gravity, when you step out of your door, you will fall up. And so you need to come to this class to learn how to not fall up, because gravity is not going to encourage you to fall up. It's going to take you down every time, just like it always does. And law of attraction is responding to your vibration. And after a while, you begin to notice that you get more flies with honey, and that you feel better when you think positive thoughts, and it feels better to love than to hate. But sometimes when it's offered in a sort of systematic way, and when you have the opportunity to do this and see how it feels, and do this and see how it feels, then you can develop an approach to life that is consistent. So we say step 1 is ask. You can't stop doing that. Step 2 is source answers. Well, you don't know if source is answering you or not, because you're asking, but you don't really know if source is answering you or not, because you've got to figure out how to let it in. So when you hear ask and it is given, you got to wonder, hey, I've been asking, but it seems to me like God's always out to lunch, because God isn't answering what I've been asking for. And then we explain that when you ask, you've got to be in a receiving mode, and somehow that begins to make sense. And so when you get really good at asking and then being in the receiving mode, and you notice the correlation between what you're asking for, Esther was thinking, how can I keep this door open? And a man handed her a piece of cardboard, and there was not 10 seconds in between the asking and the answering. That's how it is supposed to be. And when you're open, that's the way that it is. But if you're not open and nobody's handing you the cardboard for the door, after a while, you begin to think nobody's answering you, when it's not that the answers aren't coming, it's that you're not hearing. So those like us and those like you, just make it more obvious. We show you how to listen. This is talking with the angels. We would like it to say listening to the angels, listening to what they're saying. The angels are doing the talking. Are you doing the listening? Listen to what non-physical is saying to you. And so then if you get really good at it, then we say step 3 becomes step 4. You've mastered step 3. And that's when it starts being fun, isn't it? And then step 5 is the best step of all. And you have not mastered that yet, because we heard you say so many things here. You're still kind of beating up on yourself about where you've been. You're still trying to sort of justify things coming to you.
Can I say that this group that I joined when I was very, very young and was in it for over 15 years, the training was a little trick that you've talked about, like wake up in the morning, think of a number, and you'll see that number. But the momentum I started in myself was with the magnificence of seeing this response from spirit and the human mind, was then to give reverence toward this group. It was a Gurdjieff group, if any of you know that. And so it's this very intellectual justification to not do what you want for yourself, but to take all of that magnificent awareness of this correspondence of your concentration changing matter to say, this group is the one that gave me this power. It was a real, what would you call it, hijacking. And so I have a lot of that momentum. Of
course you do, and you're keeping it going even now, and you've given it to some others. But you help us to say something that's really important. And don't feel bad about it, because almost everybody's doing it about one thing or the other. And that is the continuing explaining of what you have lived doesn't let you move on. And just as much, the awareness of where you stand doesn't let you move on. Esther told a friend yesterday that she's really savoring the words looking forward. I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to. And it doesn't feel like she's yearning for something more. It's just that she can feel that forward is where all the juice is. And what is right now, all this magnificent manifestation, let's give you a definition here. Manifestation, from our terminology, is what your current vibrational interpreters are experiencing. So a manifestation is a moment in time where you're seeing with your eyes, hearing with your ears, smelling with your nose, tasting with your tongue. That's a manifestation. Manifestation is here and now, and further, what your emotions are giving you. A manifested moment is what's happening right now, and now is where all of your power is. And so here you are in this manifested moment. What we want you to understand about this manifested moment that you are so eager to devour with your physical senses is that it is old news. It's like gum that you've chewed all the flavor out of. It still exists, but it's not juicy anymore. And where the juice is in what's coming next, in what's coming next, in what's coming next. And the juice is the getting ready to be ready to be ready to be ready. The juice is understanding that I have extended myself into this vortex, and that really the larger part of me is there. And I stand as a human being in some vibrational relationship with that. And I'm looking in the direction of all of that for the newness that will manifest. If you get yourself in that state of being where you are eagerly expecting, Esther questioned us because for a long time she heard us say, we will surprise and delight you. And she thought, if I'm a deliberate creator, and if I'm putting things in the vortex, and if I'm making statements of what I want, and when I ask it is given, then why would I be surprised when I'm given what I ask for? Why wouldn't I say something more like, well, it's about time? Or why wouldn't I say something more like, well, I've been expecting that? But because you have asked for so much, and because your asking is so layered, and because it's so exponential, and because you're wrapped in with so many others, there is so much potential for surprise and delight as you rest in this state of positive expectation. Yeah, it's a good thing. Enough?
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.